It's our first time ever doing a podcast together. That's kind of cool.
It's not a podcast setting.
It's the first time ever. It's not our first time. It's certainly not our first time.
Okay. What do you want to talk about? Real quick.
Honestly, we could talk about last night.
What about it?
I think you know.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. Let's get this podcast rolling. In 5, 4, 3.
Do you have a direction?
Yeah. I was going to talk about parenting and ministry.
You're kind of making me nervous. Okay, we're going to talk about parenting and ministry.
Yeah, I'm not trying to make you nervous.
How do I do those things?
Okay. We're just going to go. It's going to be awesome. Let's just do it. Okay?
It's like a countdown?
Yeah.
5,
4, 3, 2.
Dos, and uno.
Church Girl, thank you so much for joining us today. We got a little podcast style going, and my boyfriend's here.
Yep.
And yeah, we're gonna talk about parenting in ministry.
My boy, I am your husband. I do
Yes,
think, just
he
in
is.
case someone's tuning in.
He's not my boyfriend.
But I'm that too. I'm your boyfriend. I'm your husband. I'm your baby's daddy, baby daddy. I am
Four times.
I'm your cheerleader.
Yes.
And I'm your stunt double.
Yeah, people get us confused all the time.
Yeah, it happens.
You know, it's actually funny is, so somehow, I don't know how this happens, but eventually, if you've been pastoring for long enough, people start giving you a nickname. What's your nickname from our church? PT.
Oh yeah, people call me. I don't understand what you're
have one
saying.
that I don't know about?
What's your nickname? I was like, I don't know. What do you mean? I thought you were gonna say Tyler because everyone calls me Tyler, even though my name's Taylor. Sorry to all the Taylors out there. If you're a dude, I get it, man.
Yeah.
Also, I have a girl's name. So
his
there's
new
that.
thing is that he introduces himself as Taylor, like the singer, except better looking. That's my favorite one.
It's Taylor, like Taylor Swift, but better looking.
Oh yeah, I like it. Anyways,
Get it right.
PT and PK. I don't know how we became PT and
Well,
PK.
because P is short for pastor.
Yeah,
And T is
Taylor's short for T is short for Tyler. I don't know what it is, but for some reason I'm like Pastor Christian a lot.
Yeah, you get called
the
that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're Tyler. And so anyways,
Anyways,
I don't know why I thought that was so funny, but I thought it was a good topic
I don't
to
know if
start.
we'll probably cut all that out.
No, we won't. We're keeping everything in.
Okay.
Everything. Okay? So
What are we
whatever
supposed to
you
talk
want to
about?
say.
That was 4 minutes of that.
I like it. So, okay, so you and I, we're parents, right? 4
Not
kids.
all we are. I gotta stop. I gotta be serious. Yep.
No,
Yeah.
it's fine.
Okay.
Okay, so, but not only that, I think this is kind of helpful. We actually have parents who are also pastors.
Yeah.
Both of us. And so we've had lots of conversations over the last couple of years about what our parents did that helped us in ministry as we're kind of leading together, learning together. And sometimes it's really hard to do because, you know, parenting is really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what would be some things that your mom and dad did that you think you and I have kind of like taken on and we're like, oh yeah, our parents did this and this really helped us. We're going to do it.
My parents were always bringing us with them.
Yeah.
When it came to ministry trips, you know, my dad was preaching all over the world, and he was traveling, and he was just like I can just think of so many times that our family was going on a vacation, but it was really like my dad had like a ministry opportunity, and it was like, all right, we're all going. Why?
Yeah.
Because it's in Central Florida and Disney's only 3 hours away from there. You know, like and,
Yeah.
and I just remember like my family was just like my dad was always just bringing us along, and I think one of the things my parents did, and this is particularly important, I think, for couples who are in ministry, parents who are in ministry, is they just made like ministry fun. I mean, it goes a lot of hard work. But that's another note. My parents taught me like how to work hard. I witnessed and I watched that. But they also just made ministry fun, and they made vacation fun, and I think that was a value, an unwritten, unspoken value in our home.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's important. My parents always took me on the journey too, and not necessarily, I wouldn't say it was like fun, but I thought it was fun at the time. And so my dad, we pastored a particularly elderly church when we first started ministry. Yeah, the year I was born, my parents planted a church, and a lot of our church members were senior citizens. And so my dad was doing lots of hospital visits and lots of funerals. And actually, my mom, she went back to work when I was 4. She's a teacher. And so that whole year from 4 to 5, before I went to kindergarten, I was supposed to be in preschool. But I hated preschool, and I wanted to be with my dad all the time. So my dad never made me go to preschool, and so I ended up all the time being with him at hospitals and funerals. I remember that like it was yesterday.
I hated school too. I forgot that you hated school because our kids don't necessarily, all of them don't necessarily love school.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind
It's
of
a
a
good
good reminder.
reminder.
Yeah, I hated school. I was just talking with my dad about this the other day. My parents never did that. They were never like, yeah, who cares? Like, come with me. And your dad's the best. That's probably exactly what he was like. He was like, yeah, who cares? School's not important. Just come with me. What my dad did, I remember my dad said, son, I will give you $5 a day to go to school because
Really?
I was causing that much of a problem and that much of a drama. And every single day, for years when I went to school, I would go to the nurse and I would have some sort of symptom that I'd make up, completely lie, and try. But I called home from the office every single day.
So the $5 didn't work.
Until I was offered $5 a day.
So that's a good motivator.
And I remember like coming to my dad like 3 months into that, being like, Dad, you owe me $425. And he's like, no, I don't.
That's amazing.
And I was like, you're a liar.
You're a
No,
liar.
he paid up.
That's
He paid up,
great.
yeah.
Yeah, so we should probably do that for one of our kids. Maybe like 25 cents, though.
Well, you know what my parents always did? There was always positive reinforcement.
Yeah.
Like I got spanked, definitely, but my mom always had all these systems,
Yeah, your mom's the best at that.
She had like these Wilkerson dollars, if you did a good job, she like had these like printed out like, I guess, I don't know, maybe she was using clip art back in the day on Microsoft, I don't know. But she like made these dollar bills and like cut them out, and like we had like our own piggy bank, and like we had Wilkerson bucks. I remember having stars. I remember my parents paying me to go to school. I mean, they were constantly enticing me with positive reinforcement, which I think was good because I don't think the negative reinforcement actually helped me very much. I think it made me want to fight.
Yeah.
But the positive reinforcement seemed to work. So there's a few things. Made it fun. Positive reinforcement, hard work.
What about I've talked about this before, and I kind of believe this. I don't know if you actually feel the same way, but I think that one of the greatest things my parents did was made me go to church.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Because I'm gonna make some Christians really mad right now.
Really?
It's like I don't get it. I really don't get it. There's so many Christians right now, and I guess I do get it. I think that there's so many parents who are so afraid of turning their kids off to Jesus, and they're so afraid of wounding their kids and giving their kids church hurt that they're playing timid when it comes to church and faith, and they allow their kids to get to a certain age where they want them to choose.
Yeah.
They want them to choose to go to church, and I just think like, man, like you don't like we just talked about school. You don't let your kids choose whether or not they're going to school.
Right. You
don't let your kids choose certain behaviors, like things that they want. Like, why are we letting our kids choose whether or not they get to go to church? I just think that's a mistake. If it wasn't for my parents forcing me to go to church, I remember I was really from the ages of 15, 16, 17, I was really running away from God. I was kind of like crazy, kind of a party kid, and I think my parents they knew. So what my dad did is he actually made me get more involved with church, and he actually he somehow talked me into becoming the sound guy, and he threw me onto the production team.
Did you know anything about it?
No. My dad pastored a big church, so there was a professional there, and my dad said, hey, you're going to work with, his name was Jerry. Jerry's going to teach you how to run the sound, and you have to be there on Tuesday nights, you have to be there on Thursday nights, and you have to be there all day on Sunday. And that's going to be your role.
Were you like dragging your feet? Were you like, oh,
I was.
He
did pay me though. So he was definitely, he was making it enticing. He was again, just leading with positive reinforcement. Yeah. But what did he do? He forced me into church, and I would have had to be there anyways. And so I knew if I had to be there anyways, might as well be the sound guy. And but it wasn't until I was being there every single week, serving, running sound, and I would have been the kid who would have not been there if I could have. And if my parents gave me the option to not be there, I would have come up with every good excuse to not be there. But it wasn't until I was 18 years old on a Tuesday night, and we had our college ministry going that my brother Rich started, the Rendezvous. And on Tuesday night during announcements, I'm running the soundboard. I had this encounter with the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
And my life was completely changed. And I still had some problems, but I knew that my identity was in Christ. I really gave my life to Jesus, and I started a personal walk with God. And that journey had ups and downs, but I really made that decision because my parents made me be there.
Yeah.
And so my encouragement to any parents would be, hey, I understand the concern. I think your heart is in the right place when you say, hey, I don't want to burden my kids with church. I don't want to
Yeah.
make my kids love Jesus. You can't make your kids love Jesus.
Yeah.
But you can make them do things that are good for them. You can make them go to school. You can make them go to church.
Yeah.
And you can get them into the right environments. You can't make them love Jesus, but you can make the church, and you can make Jesus attractive, and you can model Jesus well, and you can love Jesus well to your kids. And I think that's my primary concern with my kids, is that they would come to love Jesus. So
Yeah.
That's something my parents did. They forced me to go to church.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, for sure. I think that it's definitely sometimes complicated trying to figure that out. It's like, well, do I want my kid to have a bad attitude at church,
Yep.
And and that's what we would say. We'd say, yeah, like, it's okay. I've always thought, you know what, I want them there. I'd rather them be there and be rude or
How
all
did your parents handle bad attitudes at church?
I remember one time, a particular time when it was family photo day.
Oh, yeah.
And
at church. Family photo day at church.
Do you remember that?
That's a good way to get people to show up.
Do you remember did you guys have a directory?
We are now offering at Trinity, New York, professional family photographs.
Yeah. Does that work for you, Santiago?
Yeah.
Jodo? No, but I remember one time, we always did it around Christmas, and it's kind of funny because our photo was always in front of the pulpit. I don't know why.
But just your family or everyone?
Well, that particular photo was just my family.
Oh, okay.
The directory photo we had like a little set with like a backdrop and stuff.
It's great.
Yeah. So anyways, and I was so mad. I was in such a bad mood. Am I holding this wrong?
No, you're holding it great.
It's kind of heavy.
It's so heavy. My wrist is killing me. I don't know how you're doing it.
I got it in a good spot.
Oh, God.
I have pretty strong wrists, though. I do wrist workouts regularly. Anyways, that was not supposed to be weird.
No one
I
made it
don't
weird.
know why anybody made it weird. It wasn't. You didn't, but the crowd did. The crowd here. So anyways.
To the pure, all things are pure.
All I was trying to talk about was my bad attitude for pictures. I can't. I don't know if I can recover.
Keep going.
Okay, bad attitude for pictures. So anyways, what's the question? My parents made me go, and I remember one time my dad was like, Kristen, like, why is this so hard? Just smile. Like, it's okay. Just smile. Just have fun. And there are pictures to this day where I'm just in a bad mood. And
really?
But they did. They just let that photo be the photo. Like, we have, like, from our church, from my family.
And you're just like,
and I'm like,
how old are you?
I'm like 4. I'm like 5, and I'm like.
You remind me of someone else I know.
Yeah, one of our children. Yes, they get it honestly. Let's be honest.
They get it from you.
Yeah,
I remember what my parents would do. Just because my parents were pastors doesn't mean that on the way to church that sometimes we had bad attitude, sometimes we were fighting, sometimes we were being scolded in the back seat. But I remember that one of the values my parents always taught us was the ability to choose joy and to control our emotions. That was just always a really important thing. So we would pull up to church, and like I would be like crying and mad about something.
Yeah.
I was a really sensitive kid, and so it's pretty easy to make me cry. And I remember regularly pulling up to school, pulling up to church, pulling up to places I didn't want to go, but my parents knew was good for me to be there. And my mom would say, "Hey, look at me. She'd turn around, look at me. Press your happy button." Like, so mean. Her request was that of a clown, but her tone was that of an angry mom. Like, press your happy button, and that was a thing. My mom, she literally wanted me to touch my nose and force myself to smile. Like,
Yeah.
even though he didn't feel like it.
Yeah.
And honestly, to this day, I find myself, I can be having a bad day. I can find myself getting into a bad mood. I mean, literally, I was just on the train yesterday, and I was just like so like exhausted. I was headed home, and I knew I was about to walk in the door to be with my family, and I was just so tired. And I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna have anything to offer.
Yeah.
And I just remember being on the train and being like, Taylor, that's not true. Press your happy button. And I literally touched my nose and just started smiling like a crazy person on the train. Just like, this is great. I love the train. The one train's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm thankful I'm tired. And I just started talking that way. And my
Yeah.
parents have taught me how to press the happy button. I wish I did it all as often as like the story is not, I want to do it more.
Yeah.
But it's one of the things my parents taught us. Forcing us into good environments, forcing us into healthy practices, even when we don't want them, learning how to work hard. I'm just like recapping the thing every time. Yeah, I'm really
You're
grateful
pastor,
for my
you
parents.
have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's giving you an opportunity to end. I don't know if you wanted to. But,
Okay. I think that's really good. Well, I guess we should wrap it up if you're giving me an opportunity to
You can
end.
talk about your wrist workouts more.
You are too much. Okay. No, what I was going to say about that, about the
About what?
about faith and
Yeah.
feeling and choosing joy and choosing your moment, whatever it is. I think it's really powerful. I've learned that a lot from you. I think it was really hard for me growing up to get out of my feelings. In fact, like my feelings had such an influence on me.
They did.
They were more my fact than anything else.
Yeah.
And I think like in faith, you can do that all the time. That can always happen.
Yeah.
But it happens too to our kids. And it happens to their perspective on ministry and on pastoring based on the way we talk about it.
Totally.
And that's one thing that I'm always really careful about with my kids is how we're going to talk about things.
Totally.
And how we're going to speak about things. And
Yeah.
so I want to encourage you today, have your kids speak life, you know,
Totally.
and they're going to model you anyway. And so if you start to see something that you don't like, you should look at yourself and say, okay, what about me is promoting this or allowing this or encouraging this?
Totally.
And so anyways,
I think that's a huge key. You know what she just did the other day. Our kids, our daughter has this.
it's actually really funny.
She has this really fun idea, and because she watches a lot of movies, and there's like characters who like, I don't know, like they grow up and there's like a restaurant, you know, and their family runs a restaurant. And so she keeps saying to me, Dad, can we turn our apartment into a restaurant? Can you get a new job? Can you be a chef and I'll be the waiter? And can we? And she just has this like idea of running a restaurant out of our home. Kind of funny. So the other day, Nora was with her tutor, and she told her tutor, I wish my parents weren't pastors. I wish my parents were restaurant owners. And I loved what you did. You know, it's just a fun thing, but just kind of an intentional reframing of speaking life into something. It's not that Nora was negative about ministry, but Kristen, you intentionally got the kids together and said, hey, let me tell you about the job, about what Daddy
About
and
our
I do.
job. Yeah.
We have the best job ever. And she started speaking life into the job, speaking life into ministry, how we get to make a difference for the kingdom, how we're building the church.
How they get to come with us.
Yeah, how they get to do it all.
And I told her, I said, like, do your friends go to work with their parents every single day? Like, you guys get to be with us on, like, a big day every time.
And then she was like, but I really want to serve people food. And I was like, yeah, but with us, you get to sing on stages. You get to preach from microphones. You can
serve
videos.
people in the lobby.
You know, and I started, and she's like, that's awesome. And Hudson was like, I want to be a singer, you know, and I think that's awesome. But I think that I think in ministry it's so easy to get tired and to start complaining about all of it, complaining that you're not seeing the growth you want to see, complaining about your staff or your teams, complaining about all sorts of the issues that you face as a leader. And it's so easy to, obviously you want to share those with your spouse, but I think you got to be really careful not to share those in front of your children, especially for those of you who are in ministry. I would say that is just probably true across the board. I don't know that your family and your children need to carry all the pressures and pains of your leadership in life with your career and your jobs, especially if you're leading other people. Your kids don't need to know about their shortcomings at work.
No.
Your kids should should honor and celebrate everyone that you're allowing into your home. And
Yeah.
so speaking life about what God has called you to build, and
Yeah.
I think all of that is really important to teach your
Yeah.
kids to choose joy. And
Yeah. Well, we're obviously on the journey, and we're at
You
this
sure
point.
are.
At this point, we're hoping it's working. You know, and
Yeah,
so
we'll
we
find out. We got a
totally.
6-year-old. That's our oldest.
She's
so-
almost 7.
Oh my Lord.
Almost 7. So we're figuring it out, but day by day. And I think our parents they've spoken great life into us, and they've modeled the way. And that would be my greatest encouragement, to keep modeling the way, pointing to Jesus, getting really good at going back to Him again and again, and saying, God, will you use every part of my life? I want my kids to love you and know you, and I want them to love the church. I want them to love ministry. So wherever you are, I hope this conversation helped you a little bit, encouraged you. Thanks for tuning in with us, babe. Thanks for being on
Thanks
the
for
show.
having me.
I love
Church
you.
Girl Podcast, #ChurchGirl, #podcaster, #hot podcaster,
Okay. Here we
beautiful.
go. You never know. I think like when you're on the show, it needs to be rated E,
I
explicit.
definitely think that some of the
That's-
content now, we have to make sure YouTube doesn't flag this stuff.
Yeah. All right. Well, we love you. See you soon.
We're talking about some more spicy things next week. Thank you for joining us.